Today, I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 1 NFL Draftkings main slate. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. But let's not waste any time here and dive right into these plays. Now, when it comes to my cash videos here this year, we're going to keep a lot of things similar to how I've done them in years past. For example, I'm still going to go position by position, talking about my favorite plays that are sticking out to me here on Friday. However, we're going to change a couple of things up as well. I ran a survey here this past summer to my Discord followers. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. And I asked them what they would like to see me do differently, and a lot of the responses were around me creating more graphics for my videos. So I have gotten away from the spreadsheet style here in 2023 and gonna provide more of those graphics. With that being said, let's dive into the quarterbacks here for Week 1, and I have my eye on 4 different quarterbacks, 2 high-priced players, and 2 lower-priced players. Starting on the high-price side of things here, one quarterback I would be willing to pay up for is Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Good matchup at home here against the Houston Texans, who should be one of the worst teams in football this season. DraftKings has him priced at $8,000, so we essentially need 24 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. Now, I've mentioned this in my previous cash game videos, really ever since I've been doing this YouTube thing, and really ever since I've been playing DFS, which was about 8 years ago now. I'm always shooting for 150 DraftKings points in my cash lineup, or again, 3x value. By all means, I think Lamar can do that here against this Houston team. He's got a fully healthy wide receiver corps heading into Week 1. You bring in OBJ, Rashad Bateman is expected to play, and you draft Zay Flowers in the first round. Really excited to see how they play. Plus, you got a new offensive coordinator here in Todd Monken, who came over from the Georgia Bulldogs, helped them win a couple of national championships. Again, really excited to see what he can do here with Lamar and this offense in general. Now, FTN currently has Lamar projected for around 21.5 DraftKings points in this matchup, but he probably has closer to a ceiling score of 35 DraftKings points. He brings such a safe floor with his rushing upside. This is someone who's averaged 60 rushing yards per game over the course of his career, and again, with a healthy wide receiver core heading into Week 1, I love the upside he brings as well. And then another quarterback I would be willing to pay up for here this week is Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. I probably don't need to convince many of you to play this guy. The number 1 quarterback in fantasy all of last season is a guy who averaged 26.7 DraftKings points per game last year, and at $7,800 in Week 1 on DraftKings, we need about 23.4 DraftKings points in order for him to meet that 3x value. I know a lot of people are kind of looking at this matchup on the road against the Patriots, who have notoriously had a good defense, but honestly, I'm not too concerned about it. If you look at the games last year, they beat up on a lot of really bad quarterbacks, but the good to slightly above average quarterbacks played very well against them. Again, Jalen Hurts, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, safe rushing upside and a safe floor that he brings. I'm not going to be afraid to play him really in any matchup this year. FTN currently has him projected for about 19.5 DraftKings points, but again, this is a guy who's got a ceiling score of close to 35 DraftKings points. Healthy wide receivers in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You got a healthy Dallas Goedert. Again, not afraid to pay up for this guy in Week 1. Now, if I'm looking to spend down at the quarterback position this week, there are 2 guys that are really sticking out to me. The first being Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, obviously, we've never seen this guy play a full regular season NFL game, but what we do know is he offers tremendous rushing upside, and that's really what you're banking on here. I've looked at projections throughout the week. I expect him to get around 9 to 10 rushing attempts in this game. At $5,600 on DraftKings, we need about 17 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. I don't expect him to throw for 250 plus passing yards in this game. Don't expect him to throw for multiple touchdowns, but he could easily have 60 plus rushing yards and could find the end zone with his legs as well. They do have a new offensive coordinator here in Indianapolis. Really excited to see how they play. Obviously, with a rookie quarterback, there's going to be some unknowns, but Shane Steichen actually worked with Jalen Hurts here over the past 2 seasons in Philadelphia, so you can bet that he's going to scheme some things up for Anthony Richardson and really play in his favor in his high skill set. FTN currently has Richardson projected for about 14 DraftKings points, not too far off from what we need from him at 3x value. And then the other quarterback that I would be willing to spend down on is Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. Now, there's some unknowns here as well with him. Only played one game last season in Week 18, but managed to rack up close to 20 DraftKings points in that game. Priced at $4,900 here in Week 1. We only need 14.7 DraftKings points out of him. Seems very doable here, especially in this matchup at home against the Arizona Cardinals, who legitimately could be the worst team in football this year. They're going to be starting Josh Dobbs in Week 1, which really doesn't impact Sam Howell, but I'm just kind of giving you the scope there of how bad this team really could be. Now, FTN projects Sam Howell for about 13.5 DraftKings points. Again, not far off from that 3x value that we need out of him, and he's a guy who's got some decent rushing upside. Sounds like Terry McLaurin's going to be healthy in Week 1, and I'm expecting big things from Jahan Dotson in Year 2. Again, at $4,900, a low-priced option, I don't mind that for my cash lineup. Alright, now moving over here to the running backs, and honestly everyone, I really wasn't thrilled about the running back pool from a cash game perspective. Just so many uncertainties heading into Week 1. I actually quite like the running back pool from a tournament perspective, and I will be putting out my final GPP plays video on Saturday, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But from a cash game perspective, again, just not really thrilled about the options that we have. There are really two guys who are sticking out to me, and probably two guys who I'll be locking into my cash lineup. The first being Austin Eckler of the Los Angeles Chargers. Would be willing to spend up for him at $8,400 on DraftKings. Need about 25.2 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. I do think he can get there in this matchup against the Miami Dolphins. This game against the Dolphins and Chargers is going to be a popular game to target in general. Not only does it have the highest implied total heading into Week 1, but this is an afternoon game to target as well, and people love to do that in DFS. I'm not concerned about ownership projections, especially when it comes to my cash lineup. So even if Eckler is highly owned, not going to worry about it. And Eckler's actually played very well against Vic Fangio defenses here over his last 3 games, averaging 17 points per game. That was half-point PPR. I couldn't find his full-point PPR stat, but just assume it's going to be higher. And Vic Fangio is now in Miami, the defensive coordinator there, so I do like the matchup for Eckler. FTN currently has him projected for 22.5 DraftKings points, with a ceiling score closer to 30 DraftKings points. Again, not going to be afraid to pay up for him in Week 1. And then the other cash running back that I like here this week is Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, priced at $5,500, so we need about 16.5 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. Now, the Bucs are heading into Minnesota this week as 6-point dogs. I don't necessarily love that for Rachaad White, but this is a guy who should be both involved in the running and passing game, so whether the Bucs are playing with a lead or playing from behind, I expect him to be involved. He's the clear number 1 running back in this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense right now, especially with no Leonard Fournette, and we all know that Baker Mayfield loves to dump the ball off to his running back, so I expect him to see at least 3 targets in this game. Plus, that Vikings defense, I do love that they brought in Brian Flores as their new defensive coordinator, but they still should be a little suspect. FTN currently has White projected for about 14 DraftKings points in this game, not far off from that 16.5 that we need from him to meet 3x value. Now, before we dive into the wide receivers here, everyone, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. We're trying to get SlyDogg Sports here to 4,000 subs. I'm going to have football content coming out for you guys all year long. The NHL season is just 1 month away, and then I'll be doing DFS breakdowns for those slates. Plus, we brought a brand new entertainment segment here to SlyDogg Sports, particularly around Mulligan Masters. Here's a little preview to that.
Mob Deep is in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're calling for them. We're going to pick their club here. They're going to hit a 60 degree.
All right, we're taking our throw here.
Yours might be in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Mulligan Masters. So there you have it, everyone. SlyDogg Sports bringing you NFL, NHL, and Mulligan Masters content. Now let's dive into these wide receivers. The wide receiver position does offer quite a bit of value here this week, and I do have some honorable mentions that I'm going to populate at the end of this video here, ranging from all positions. I do have some other running back value plays in there, which if you go that route, you might be able to spend up for 2 high-priced wide receivers in your cash lineup this week. If not, you're for sure going to be able to spend up for one. One guy I would be absolutely willing to spend up for is Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings, priced at $8,800 here in a good matchup at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We need about 26.4 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value, and with the Vikings having the 3rd highest implied total at about 26 points this week, I definitely think he can get there. The Bucs ranked 26th overall in pass DVOA last season, and there's really nobody in the NFL who can truly shut down Justin Jefferson. FDN currently has him projected for about 20 DraftKings points here this week, but has a ceiling score closer to 30-35 DraftKings points. And then another wide receiver I would be willing to spend up for here this week is Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. We've already talked about this game between them and the Los Angeles Chargers, a lot of high scoring potential there, and Tyreek is slightly cheaper than JJ at $8,200, so we need 24.6 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. We all know that Tyreek Hill can blow up on any given week. He is the epitome of a GPP or tournament play, but I'm not going to ignore him in cash either. This is a guy who had a 30% target share last year in this Miami offense. He had career highs in targets, yards, and catches last season, and this is absolutely someone who could go for 30 plus DraftKings points. FTN currently has him projected for around 20.5, but again, one of those ceiling scores that could absolutely blow up. Now, hopping down here to the 6K range, there's a lot of tournament considerations at the wide receiver position, and there typically is week 1 through week 18. But one guy that stuck out to me from a cash game perspective was Chris Olave of the New Orleans Saints. Priced at $6,500, we need 19.5 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. He's got a great matchup at home here this week against the Tennessee Titans, who allowed the 2nd most receptions and 3rd most receiving yards to wide receivers last year. And I don't really think they got that much better in the secondary this offseason. They do have a great run-stopping defense, which is why I think New Orleans is going to have to air it out a little bit in this game, should they want to win. Playing indoors obviously helps wide receivers as well, plus you get a QB upgrade from Andy Dalton to Derek Carr. FTN currently has Olave projected for about 14 DraftKings points. I personally think that's a bit low. This is definitely someone who could go for 20, 25, maybe even 30 DraftKings points. Now let's talk some value wide receivers here. I actually have 3 that stuck out to me in the 3K range. First being Elijah Moore at $3,800 for the Cleveland Browns. We need 11.4 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. Now look, I don't want to say this is an easy matchup at home here against the Cincinnati Bengals, because it's not. Cincinnati was actually quite good against wide receivers last year, but I look at the price and the shootout potential in this game. At $3,800, I certainly don't mind it. I know a lot of people are going to look at the preseason and go, oh, well, Elijah Moore left the field during 2 wide receiver sets. It was Donovan Peoples-Jones. Look, you'd be right, but the Cleveland Browns also ran 3 wide receiver sets 75% of the time, and when Elijah Moore was on the field, he had a 31% target share. Look, it's preseason. It's that uncertainty heading into week 1, but if he has even close to a 31% target share in this game, he should absolutely meet that 3x value. FTN currently has him projected for about 8 DraftKings points, which again isn't all that far off from that 3x. And then I got 2 wide receivers there who are actually priced at the bare minimum of $3,000 on DraftKings. First being Marvin Mims of the Denver Broncos. We need about 9 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. And I do want to mention, I think this is a much better play if Jerry Jeudy misses for the Broncos on Sunday. If he plays, I think Mims could still be a consideration, being that he is the bare minimum of $3,000, because Jeudy would likely be limited. But again, I like this play a lot better if Jeudy just misses completely. At 9 DraftKings points for 3x, I absolutely think he could get there in a good matchup at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Mims brings that deep threat, big play upside. He could really meet value on 1 or 2 plays here, especially considering the Raiders gave up the 4th most yards per attempt just last season to wide receivers. FTN currently has Mims projected for about 8 DraftKings points, or 1 point shy of that 3x that we need from him. And then the other bare minimum guy is Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. Again, $3,000, need 9 DraftKings points in order to meet 3x value. Very similar situation to Marvin Mims in the sense that Christian Watson and or Romeo Doubs could miss for the Packers this week. If one or both miss, that makes Reed a better play. FTN currently has him projected for about 7 DraftKings points. We're now moving on to the tight end section here. We'll keep this short and sweet. I got 3 guys who are on my radar. Look, if you want to spend up for Mark Andrews this week, I have no problem with that. I'm more so going to be in the 3 to 4K range. If I want to go in the 4K range, there's 2 guys who stick out to me. First being Tyler Higbee of the Los Angeles Rams, priced at $4,800 and a good matchup on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Need about 14.5 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. But look, no Cooper Kupp here this week. So that makes Higbee the Rams' number 1 or number 2 pass catcher in this offense right now. He had 6.5 targets last year, a 22% target share when Matthew Stafford was playing, and that was when Cooper Kupp was in the lineup as well. So I really like that, especially considering that Kupp's 31% target share won't be available here this week. FTN is projecting Higbee around 10.5 DraftKings points, but I think that he could get to 3x here in this matchup. Now, if you want to save a little money off of Tyler Higbee, I don't mind David Njoku either at $4,200 for the Cleveland Browns. We need about 12.6 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. Solid matchup to do that here at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, who allowed the 17th most points per game to the tight end position just last year. Njoku here should be a top 3 pass catching option in this Browns offense, behind Amari Cooper for sure. You could probably argue that he's the number 2 pass catcher, and then it's Elijah Moore, but overall, top 3 pass catcher in this offense. FTN currently has him projected for about 9.5 DraftKings points here this week, or just 3 shy of that 3x value that we need from him. And then if I'm looking to punt at the tight end position, I'm going to go with Hayden Hurst. I know some people are looking to Luke Musgrave of the Green Bay Packers, but that rookie tight end should have a tough matchup in week 1 against that Chicago defense, especially since they brought in Tremaine Edwards out of Buffalo. So I'm going to go to Hayden Hurst here out of Carolina. $3,000 on DraftKings, need 9 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. He could be the go-to check down guy actually with his rookie QB in Bryce Young. I don't want to say this is a tough matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. Again, it's a punt option at $3,000. I'm really not too concerned about it when I spend this low on a position, but FTN does have him projected for about 7 DraftKings points. If he got that here in this matchup, I'd be really happy with that. And then finally, we got the defense here, and I have my eyes on one defense and one defense only when it comes to my cash lineup. Again, I'll break down a lot more. Actually, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going to break down a few more in my GPP plays video, so again, make sure you stay tuned for that on Saturday. But when it comes to my cash lineup, the Commanders here are just mispriced at $2,800. We need 8.4 DraftKings points in order for them to meet 3x value. In my opinion, DraftKings just flat out got the pricing wrong here. Again, playing the Arizona Cardinals at home, who could legitimately be the worst team in the NFL this year, even if Kyler Murray is their quarterback. But that's not the case here in week 1 for them. They are rolling out Josh Dobbs. So I'm going to roll with the Commanders here. Not even going to question it. FTN has them projected for about 7 DraftKings points, but I think they could even get more than that. And then to close things out here, I do want to talk some honorable mentions for your cash lineup. I've done this with my NHL DFS videos here over the past year, and people have really seemed to like these honorable mentions, so I'm going to start bringing that to the cash play side of things here for the NFL. And I have 5 honorable mentions here for week 1. First being Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, a good matchup at home here against the Miami Dolphins. At $6,900, we would need about 21 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. Honestly, the only reason he wasn't a main cash play for me was due to Vic Fangio. Herbert had struggled with him being the defensive coordinator in Denver. I honestly think he's going to be fine here this week, but I did bump him down just a little bit because of that. Absolutely going to be in my tournament lineups this week, though. And then I got 3 running backs there, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, and Raheem Mostert. Considering the volume I'm expecting for those guys this week and their price and matchups, I absolutely think they're fine cash plays. And then 1 wide receiver, actually 2 wide receiver plays there from the same team, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I prefer Keenan Allen, but I love the price savings there with Mike Williams. You got Keenan Allen, who's at 7.3K. You need 22 DraftKings points in order for him to meet 3x value. Mike Williams, you do get a discount of $1,600, so he only needs 17.1 DraftKings points. Keenan Allen, notoriously the target monster in that offense, but again, due to the price savings, I could go with Mike Will as well. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great week 1 here, folks. Let's win some money as well. In the meantime, I'm out of here.